Sorry, Senator Steele-John.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. I have just learned that a deal has been circulated in this chamber between the government and the opposition that would see this bill rammed through on Thursday. This deal means that this last 20 minutes of debate is very likely to be the last time any member of this Senate is given the opportunity to speak with substance to this bill. So, in the 9 minutes left to me, and on behalf of the Australian disability community, there are a few things that must be recorded here in this moment. Never in the history of the Australian disability rights movement has a government so profoundly betrayed the trust placed in it by the community. The families and the disabled people who suffered so significantly under the 10 years of Liberal government placed their trust in the Australian Labor Party at the election, that the party and the government elected would collaborate and co-design, would restore dignity in the scheme. And at every opportunity since coming to power, you have calibrated and carefully built a bill which now sits before this Parliament with a single purpose: to cut as much from the supports we need to survive as possible, as quickly as possible, to enable the redirection of those public funds towards the priorities set by and for your donors and those who offer you jobs when you leave this place.
Shame.
The National Disability Insurance Scheme, founded because of disabled people, because of our community's collective power and advocacy, was brought into the world founded on two transformational principles. Firstly, the idea of an individualised support, the end to the yes-no lists, the end to the template planning, the end to the list of wheelchairs you can or can't have boiled up by a bureaucrat somewhere. And secondly, the idea that the support you may receive will be the result of an authentic negotiation between a disabled person and the government as to what they need. These principles transferred the power vested in the hands of government over the lives of disabled people and returned them to disabled people ourselves. And every single moment since the passage of that legislation 10 years ago, people in positions of power, politicians and bureaucrats, have fought to get that power back. And that transfer, that stripping of power from community back into the hands of government is the effect of this bill. Choice and control, reasonable and necessary supports are stripped from disabled people and our families with an almost surgical precision, leaving us to once again live with the fear, live with the horror of having our lives shaped about us, without us. During the course of this parliamentary debate, the government has sought again and again to dismiss, to gaslight, to attempt to frame disabled people and our concerns as being driven by needless fear. Well, tonight, if you take the opportunity to look into your inboxes, to check back with your teams, you will discover that every single one of Australia's disability representative organisations have said clearly over the last 48 hours that this bill must not pass. The Network for First Nations people who are disabled have said in the starkest terms that this bill is bad for First Nations people who are disabled. Advocates around the country have hit the phones, have sent emails, have begged and pleaded with you to listen, to see sense. The Minister comes into the chamber this evening and says, in response to questions, oh, period products were put in the wrong part of the list. The government does no longer believe that they should be categorised as a lifestyle product, without apparently being able to conceive of that mistake as an example of why there should not be lists. Why, in fact, somebody's individualised support should be the result of their individualised circumstances. This government that makes such a song and dance about any tiny thing that it believes may help a person or a community in a cost of living crisis brings a bill before this chamber and seeks to ram it through that would see the Australian disability community subjected to mandatory government assessments that we neither want nor need, that you are going to make us pay for.
Shame.
And yet this is the bill that will be passed through this place on Thursday. Almost as though you're running a bit scared. Almost as though you feel that a bit more time left to look into this thing might actually reveal a couple more things you haven't thought through. I wonder how many amendments you may introduce if we gave this bill another couple of weeks. We'd come back and there'd be 90, 100. You discovered a new agency function you had never at all, in any way, during the course of this debate, considered or flagged and inserted it during the last week of debate. In my entire 7 years here, I have never seen anything like it. I have never seen anything like it. We were engaging in a good faith committee stage process with the government seeking to identify answers to the actual questions that remain before the community. And you move this deal, you ram it through because you don't like being under pressure or under scrutiny. And so the disability community is left now to simply sit and wait for the inevitable deal to take effect.
Minister.
No,
oh, sorry, Senator Steele-John. I apologise.
If I could sit down to indicate, you would know that I hadn't finished.
I apologise.
With the passage of this bill, the Australian disability community will enter a period of shadow. Harm, difficulty, and yes, death. A type of life we thought we had escaped will return for many of us. The solidarity that we have built as a community in the fight against this legislation, however, will remain, and it will grow. And as we move together into this period of trial, we shall do so together. We shall not be alone. We shall struggle together. We shall cry together. We shall speak up together. We will protest together. And we will see a parliament elected that will restore our rights and protections together. And there will come a day when these supports are returned, when a government apologises for what it didn't know it was doing, And we will look upon that government and we will state clearly that they did know, and we do in fact hold them fully responsible.